What's up, guys? We are back. Aries Fight Series 10 recap and reaction show here on the 0 Hour. I'm Tim Lloyd, joined by my man, Jeff Hobbs. Jeff, we are coming on the heels of the final show before the big AMP show. And, this is one of those cards that, we've been promoting AMP so much for August the 10th that if we weren't careful, it could kind of slip through the cracks. But really a nice little turnout here at the Cotton Eye Joe this past Friday, and a lot of really fun fights after a bit of a slower June. July was we picked back up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, June was actually pretty hectic for us. I mean,
a very busy June.
Yeah,
I'm saying I should say a June at the Joe show.
Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, like you said, the July show sandwiched right in between a busy June with two shows, and then all the stuff that's going into this August AMP show in Nashville could have easily gotten lost in there. And surprise little little gym right in the middle of those shows. So it was a pleasant surprise to see our crowd back, and I say our crowd because they were there. As the night kept progressing, you kept looking around, and it just kept getting busier and busier, and more bodies and more bodies. And the more we went through the card, the louder it started getting, and a lot of really fan-focused reaction there towards specific fighters. So, some of these guys and gals were bringing big crowds in. So, I mean, it's pretty cool, man. It ended up being one of those nights that we always talk about, Tim, where you maybe weren't expecting much per se, but you were pleasantly surprised at the energy and then how the show ended up turning out.
Let's get into the recap. But first, folks, we need you to subscribe to the channel here. That'd be the best thing you can do for us. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. You'll get notified when we put new content up. There's going to be lots of new content on the channel in the coming weeks as we get ready to go into Aries AMP. That's August 13th in Nashville. So we're going to have lots of interviews on the channel in the lead up to that. We're trying to get as many as we can for as many guys and girls as we can. Of course, also the videos from Aries 9 from Chattanooga, Aries Co-Pro with NFC and Conflict in Augusta. Those will be coming up here. And then, of course, the videos that we just did this past Friday from Aries 10. So 3 whole shows worth of videos about to be dumped on the channel here. So you need to be subscribed so you know when your favorite fights are being dropped. Let's get to it. Aries Fight Series 10 from the Joe. We had Tag Team Grappling open us up as Crossville MMA's DJ Mackey and Chris Goldstein battled Team Chaos's Josh Cate and James Montgomery to a 10-minute draw. Both sides had their moments here, but it was a lot of quick tags used up by Chaos, so that Josh Cate was kind of stuck in there for the lion's share of the match at the end with no tags, and then found himself in a bad spot with DJ Mackey on his back, and going for chokes, kind of having to defend the entirety of the match. And so we ended up with a draw at the end of the time limit. Nice showing, I thought, for both teams, but shout out to Crossville MMA, DJ Mackey. I spoke to him afterward. He felt like at the very least he kind of silenced some critics, some doubters of his and his team's credentials and legitimacy in the grappling range, as he held strong with a couple very, very talented grapplers in Team Chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, you are absolutely correct. I think he hushed a few of the doubters, the haters. His jiu-jitsu and his team's jiu-jitsu, I think had been overlooked, and admittedly, even probably by myself as well. But really good showing for him, and definitely showed his team's worth. It was a very talented team that was across from him, and to be able to hang and not just hang, but control a lot. A lot of that bout was really, really impressive. Chris Goldstein was very impressive as well. He immediately went in on the offense. He kind of immediately sat down on his butt and said, bring it to me. But as soon as he got a hold of, or was it the opposite way around?
Yeah, I think he went. He said he sit down.
Yeah,
and,
he was the one to sit down. But as soon as he got a hold,
in there,
quickly try to through that Darce choke, attempt out there. It was really good. But we've talked about it before. It's new still for these guys, and they're still learning the strategies and the concepts. And as soon as they get one aspect of this tag team strategy down, they forget about another, they learn about another. So it's going to take some time for it to catch on, but it's definitely a fun way to start out an event. I really like it when we start the events out with this um, kind of a concept gimmick type matchup, because it definitely lets the crowd know that we're going to be a little unorthodox throughout the evening and have some fun with what we're doing. And this one delivered.
Our second bout of the evening, combat grappling, so open hand palm strikes were allowed. It was Team Chaos's, I'm sorry, it was Team Agogi's Lyndon Gateline defeating Team Chaos's Pete Roche with an ankle lock about 2 minutes 25 seconds in. Most of this bout spent, in a bit of a posturing battle, trying to snap their opponent to the mat without much success. Once we finally got there, though, it was Roche landing some nice open hand slabs, but Lyndon withstood those, grabbed an ankle lock, and got the submission.
Yeah, Roche was really trying to dive into that combat part of the match, and you could tell that Lyndon was just really confident in his jujitsu and his skill set, and just took the mindset. You concentrate on the combat and the slapping part of it. I'll take a few to get my shit sunk in, and I'll just end this thing. You won't be able to slap me anymore if it's over. So
Right.
he took a few just to be able to get his shit in, and as soon as he got it locked up, that was it. So we all have seen firsthand, Agogi BJJ, and we knew that he had the skill. For me, it was just a matter of how's this young kid going to handle both these kids, young guys, I should say, young men, handle that open palm. Boss Root used to knock people out with it, and so it's always just a matter of is that going to get in the way of someone's actual jujitsu skill, having to worry about that. But Lyndon had the answer, which was just end it.
Moving on to the final prelim, it was juniors Muay Thai kickboxing at 155 pounds. A fellow that we've seen before, Brian Ortiz, made his return representing Machindo Martial Arts down in Marietta, Georgia, as he gets a unanimous decision win over Bubba Grant out of Crossville MMA. 30-27. Across the board on all three judges' scorecards. Both kids showed a lot of toughness. We saw Ortiz last time out against the Shield Systems competitor, Lee Brown, who was so tall, so long, and he kind of struggled to deal with those dimensions, but still showed that he was very tough, very gritty. This time he was able to. He had a kid that was more his size, more his dimensions, and he was able to showcase quite a bit more of what he could do. Lots, this is Ortiz is very tough, very and hits very hard. Likes to be flashy, lots of spinning stuff. He's really looking to land those big spinning back fists, and so one of these days he's going to, I think. Or I thought that Grant also had a pretty good showing. Fought out of some really tough spots and had some good moments of his own. But it's Brian Ortiz getting back on the winning track now for Machindo in that juniors division. Both kids showed a lot of grit and toughness, though. It was a bit of a I'm going to say it was a sloppy fight, but it was one of those just kind of brawly bang. Both guys would attempt to show good technique, and it would still devolve into like a brawl.
Yeah, and a lot of that was initiated by Brian Ortiz's pretty much everything but the kitchen sink strategy. Kid is he's ornery, I guess is about the best way to put it. Brian Ortiz is ornery. He don't like losing at all.
No.
And if he lost, then if you try to talk, he don't like you. If you're trying to talk and tell him, that it was okay and that he did a great job. And he fought like that when he came in. This show was he's still mad about damn losing 3 months ago, and so he does implement that everything but the kitchen sink strategy where he's Superman punching, flying knees to the body. Probably counted about 20 spinning back fist attempts. But those spinning back fists, when they don't work, you've immediately kind of just spun yourself back into close quarters, and it caused a lot of just tie ups. A lot of awkward positions where that spinning back fist gets caught, mid spin, and you're just chest to back at that point, and grabbing. So, but look, these kids are still young, man. Mr. Grant, Bubba Grant, definitely showed his value in this fight as well. He had a good crowd that came there
Mhm.
to support him. So you got to, when you watch these fights, you do got to keep in mind these guys are still under 18 years old.
Oh yes.
They're at a point in their life where they're still hanging out with friends and uh, you know partying on the weekends and things like that. It's summertime for them out of school. So the fact that they're dedicated and focused enough to still keep pursuing their love of combat sports is admirable.
Shout out to Brian Ortiz for the best ring attire of the night. I've got at least
Yeah,
got to give him that. Had the sombrero going. It was the full
the
on
full
traditional Mexican garb. It was great.
yeah.
It was awesome. All right. Then at that point, we took a little break, came back, and had our undercard. Three adult Muay Thai bouts headline that. Started off with 170-pound debuts. Andre Stevens out of Striker Fight Center down in Kennesaw, Georgia, got the win by unanimous decision over Alabama's Kyle Castelline. Unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Kind of a tale of two fights here. I thought, Andre Stevens definitely the dominant in the first two rounds. Really worked the body. To a lot of good success. Training there with Frank and Jason Wolf down there. He's got tough dudes there with him. Of course, Carrington Johnson coming out of that camp, getting ready to fight Justin Jamar. So I obviously had high hopes for the debuting Andre, and he put on a great showing. Castellan showed a lot of toughness, absorbed those body shots in the first couple rounds, and I really thought he was kind of on his way out. Honestly, like early in the fight, I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep taking this, but man, he gutted it out. And in the third round, I thought Kyle Castellan took that third round as Andre began to slow down a little bit. He had poured out so much volume over the first two rounds, starting to slow down a little bit in the third. Thought Kyle landed some real nice heavy blows in the third round. It's just a little bit too little too late after he'd already dropped those first couple rounds. But a nice showing for both gentlemen. I thought a great win for Andre, even in the loss for Kyle. I think that he had a good showing, and I think he was happy with himself even afterward. With his performance, I'm sure he would have rather had the win, but not a bad showing by any means.
Yeah, I mean it's man, for two debut guys, they put on a hell of a scrap. Uh, those body shots to Castelline, though, it wasn't just the first round either. I mean, he just continuously
Yeah.
kept digging to those. Uh, so, like you said, hats off to Castelline because we thought those body shots to the liver were something that could possibly end it in the first round, but
Mm-hmm.
he took them, all three rounds. Uh, and started really coming on strong at the end. And I agree with you. Third round, I definitely gave to Castelline. Stevens looked great, and I don't want to just concentrate um, on this other side of it. To take anything away from Stevens, he looked great, and he won that fight, and it was the right decision. I love how Kyle Castelline is coming along, though. He came to us just straight out of the blue, damn near off the street because he was just in
Right.
the crowd watching a fight. And he started and he said, "Let me do a jiu-jitsu match." So he did a jiu-jitsu with us. Now it's a Muay Thai match. Let me get one of those in. And he's getting himself ready
Yeah.
for possibly an MMA debut. And he wanted to just have a single in both of those different kind of disciplines to get his feet wet before he puts on the little gloves and try his hand at amateur MMA. So I like that he took it one discipline at a time and built himself up to hopefully a MMA amateur MMA debut coming up here real soon.
No doubt. Stay tuned. May have some news on that, hopefully, in the coming weeks. Moving on to our next Muay Thai bout. This one was going to be at well, technically it was a 142-pound catch weight. They weighed the same day, so these guys would typically be 135ers, but it was Luis Gonzalez of Sakan Muay Thai out of Ohio getting the win over David West out of Black Eye Muay Thai down in Atlanta. Unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. I had it the other way personally. I had it 29-28 for West. Not saying there was any robbery. It was a really close fight. Both guys very technical, lots of good body kicks, and just neither guy ever really took over the fight by any means. It was very, very back and forth affair. So yeah, I don't have any qualms over the scorecard, but that personally I had a 29-28 for West. Both camps just incredible to work with, very professional, very easy. There's some of these guys that, when they want to weigh same day, you have that little bit of quiver in your heart that, like, man, is this going to happen? Are they going to show up someday? Are we going to be in a spot? Because sometimes they get you. These guys, you don't worry about it. They're very it's old hat to them. They they show up. They're reliable. They're going to put on a good show and be well prepared.
Yeah. This was a point in the night where something else had come up, and I had to kind of step away and give my attention to other aspects. But I do agree with you. Every time I was able to pay attention, I felt that David West was in control of the fight. But going back and looking at the replay and watching it today, I mean, it was close. I totally agree that there's no robbery either
No.
way. 29-28, you just, you had to judge. Well, you had the judges, saw one round differently than I probably did, but it's not egregious by any means because it was a close technical fight. 100% agree with you that these are two gyms that you just you don't have to worry about on fight weekend. You don't have to babysit them. You don't
Yeah.
have to hold their hand. They're not real needy. They come in and do their job, and don't put any hindrance on the promotion or the show. And they tell you thank you, and they just dip out and they go home. And so, pleasure to work with both camps, and regardless of it, again, whether or not one camp thought they won, the other camp thought they won, or felt that it was just, you'll never hear it from either side of them, because they're both classy camps, and both these guys were too, and understand that we're in an amateur situation right now, and I can either be sparring in my gym and nobody's watching me, or I can come here and do it in front of people with a cool walkout. So
Yeah.
they definitely understand. They understand the assignment.
Rounding out the Muay Thai fights, we ramped our way all the way up to the heavyweights here, as it was Johnny Hutchison representing Chaos, getting the unanimous decision win, 30-27 across the board. All three judges saw it that way, as he gets the win over Christian Mazariego out of Machindo Martial Arts. And he gets his record up to 1-1 now after falling to Hank Peppers in his debut. He was able to I think, be even more composed in this fight the second time around at home, and show a lot more of what he could do. Mazariego, very tough in there. I mean, you could tell just watching Johnny Hutchison fight that dude hits hard. Like, you don't want to take a whole lot of punches from that dude. He just kind of keeps coming forward. And I thought Mazariego did a good job of trying to play Matador, the best he could. Also trying a lot of the spinning stuff, as we saw from his teammate, Brian Ortiz earlier, just not able to quite land it. But again, a very professional young man to work with. He's 0-2 now, but very deceptive 0-2. I think he's still going to be very game with anybody that you put him with. And congrats to Johnny Hutchison. He gets Chaos on the board for the night for the first time. And this was kind of a good example. Like, there were several teams that had multiple fighters on the card, but like hardly anyone was able to run the table. Chaos had multiple guys on, took wins, took losses. Machindo took wins, took losses. Agogi wins and losses both ways. Nobody really came in there and run roughshod until the team we're about to talk about here in a moment. But I'll let you give us your take on this heavyweight bout.
Yeah, what you just said though, lots of blue side, lots of red side, very evenly, down the fight card. Each corner well represented. Each color corner definitely represented. I looking at this bout, and we knew how many heavyweights we had on the card. I'm not going to lie and say that I wasn't surprised, because I was surprised that this one went the distance, because I usually just felt with these big boys that we had on this card, that none of these heavyweight fights would see the distance. And so right from the rip, they got me, and we got to see 3 full rounds of heavyweight action. Good showing by both these guys. Again, the Mushindo team was great to work with, and all their combatants Friday night showed their worth and skill in the cage. Definitely, was happy for Johnny Hutchison, because his debut, he went into enemy territory, a very
Mhm.
tough task going into Chattanooga against a hometown favorite and um, stalwart there in the community with Coach Peppers. So that was a tough outing for him. So I was definitely happy for him that he got to come in just a little more relaxed, if you will, and put on a show for his fans and friends and family, and get his record back even. So kudos to both these guys. Good job to both these guys, and hopefully we'll see them back soon. With all the heavyweights that were on this card, let's not forget there was a young man working security.
Oh yes.
The Black Cowboy Pooh was taking notes on all these heavyweights. So win or
He was
lose,
swinging through there about every heavyweight fight and
that's
asking what
right.
they had
So
going on.
win or lose, he was taking down names. So I got a feeling no matter who won or lost this fight, we're going to be able to keep you busy if you're interested.
Moving into the small gloves now, it's MMA from the rest of the way out. We had a featherweight bout between Xavier Lundy representing Southern Scrap Nation out of Charlotte. First time we had seen that group. Very easy to deal with, very professional. He gets the win in this one as he takes out Alex D's independent fighter down from the Cleveland area that had just a really tough go of it this time. And man, his car broke down on the way to weigh-ins. I had to go pick him up about 35 miles outside of Knoxville where he had broken down, and then bring him into town and got him a hotel room for the night. And so he was kind of displaced, and just the whole situation was less than ideal for your debut. That said, coming in with a good wrestling background there out of Bradley, a very decorated wrestling group down there, and he seemed still confident, by the time it was fight time. He's, seemed like most of the distraction had been put behind him. So not to make any excuses for him. Ultimately, it was Xavier Lundy, though, getting the TKO minute 24 seconds into the first round, evens his record up now to 1-1. Dees falls to 0-1. Hopefully next time he has a little better circumstances to get out there and perform a little bit better. But, Lundy, nice win, and another player in the 145 division.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you, it's like when D's called and started explaining to you all the things that were happening to him. Your first instinct is I'm going to lose this fight.
Yeah.
The kid's got too much going on right now that he's not going to be able to concentrate on what he came here to do. I know I wouldn't have. There's no way I would have been able to leave my car on the side of the interstate for a day or two and just concentrate on what I came to do, and not having a ride to the store, the gas station to get something to eat. But man, the kid just said, if you'll come pick me up and help me with a room, I'm going to follow through this commitment. And he sure as hell did. And he said, I'll worry about that after the fight. So, we are in a business where that would have taken 80% of
Oh yeah.
the other guys out of the fight totally. And we would have not seen nor hide nor hair of them at weigh-ins or at the fight. So, I can't express my gratitude enough for this young man, seeing this through. But at the end of the day, Xavier Lundy was looking good in there, and the kid's got some skills, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a weight class at 145 pounds where there are a lot of nice matchups that we could put together, for a young man like that. And so we got to have Alex D's back. I think he's earned it and earned our respect. But 100%, man, Xavier Lundy and that Southern Scrap Nation team. We hopefully we get to see them again real soon.
Rounding out the undercard, 160-pound catchweight MMA bout. Logan Metters out of Lawrenceburg Combat Club, the first fighter to represent the newly formed, official Lawrence Combat Club, Lawrenceburg, I should say Lawrenceburg, not Lawrenceville, Lawrenceburg Combat Club. And he gets the win over Attican Groves out of the Nashville area. This is a fight was like, in hindsight, man, we probably should have just made this fight in Nashville. We probably would have made a lot more sense. But we didn't have all of our Nashville cards set at the time, and so hindsight's 2020. All the same, Attican Groves and Logan both coming in looking for their first win. They're both 0-1 coming into this, both very hungry, both very confident they were going to get this win. And Logan Metter's able to pick up that win as Attican Groves not able to answer the bell to come out for the second round as he had broken his hand early in that first round, not able to continue. That said, Logan looking very good throughout that first round. Attican compromised, obviously, in hindsight, would show why maybe he was not able to perform as well as he would want to, but very disappointed he was, and he's vowed he will be back. Very easy and good guy to work with. Had Russian DNA Alex Pregande in his corner as well, so he'd been putting in some work. You would think at the very least with Alex, so he took that the camp seriously, getting ready for this. But hey, man, this is about Logan Metters on this night as he gets Lawrenceburg Combat Club off to a 1-0 start, both on the night and as an official gym.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like you said, I reached out, tried to myself, just personally, wanted to know what that situation was, and Attican actually does private lessons with
Mm-hmm.
Pregande. So outside of his regular training, he also does one-on-one private lessons with old Russian DNA, who has shout out to him. He's in a fight camp, and he has a fight coming up here soon,
Nice.
back with PFL. So be looking for that. Tennessee peeps and regional guys. But
We'll have to have him on the
yeah,
show.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, this one I feel bad because this one looked like it had the potential of really being a good long possible headed to a judge's decision type scrap. Um,
This was my pre-show pick for like sleeper fight of the
Sleeper,
night.
right,
Actually, I know.
right. Um, Attican looked, in what we saw, he looked better than what I remember the last time we had saw him. This was the point in that the card though where the crowd really went from a nice little kind of low energy to that just okay over the top energy now
Right.
at this point because of that Lawrenceburg crowd. So it was live in there about this point. So every positive move that Logan did, the crowd just erupted and they were excited. But Attican is a long, rangy kid, and when he finally puts all this together, and he's confident, he's got some confidence in there. Um, the doctor wasn't sure really, is it broke, is it not? He said, it's hard for him to really evaluate the severity of the injury. Hopefully,
It was certainly like swollen.
yes, but there could be a
Maybe there
fracture in there,
right.
a sting or things like that. So we don't know. So hopefully it's not too bad to where he can not have to sit on that kind of ending for too long and be able to get back in there fairly quickly. But again, this Lawrenceburg crowd, this Lawrenceburg contingency, they got a little something going. And you said, maybe we could have got them in Nashville, and maybe we still can because there are other things coming up, guys, in the Nashville area. At the end of summer for fall, so maybe we will see that crowd again. But I was only disappointed that this fight didn't get to go longer because I thought it was going to be a really good, long, drawn out competition. Sucks when injuries happen, but hell, it's the name of the game.
Moving on to the main card, it was our first of two female bouts as we had the bantamweight ladies in action, and Carissa Hodge, independent out of Ohio, comes in at 0-2 and fought very tough competition leading up to this. As she fought Samantha Buttery in her debut for us, actually. But tonight, on that night anyway, she was going to get her first win as she gets a round one guillotine choke, 2 minutes 4 seconds in over the debuting Anna Taylor out of Knoxville, locally there. It was great working with both these ladies. I went very happy for Carissa getting this win. We talked about it in our preview. She didn't get discouraged after her first losses. She really, kept her head up and, was determined that she was going to do something here. And she came out here and found herself in some bad spots earlier. Anna Taylor really landing nice takedowns, landed two really good takedowns, actually. I thought after talking to her afterward, we knew she was a mystery. We could tell that she was in shape, but we just didn't really know what to expect. Afterward, I was like, she's wrestler, right? And they're like, no, she never wrestled a day in her life. I'm like, really? She wrestling looked pretty good. Unfortunately, though, got caught in that guillotine and had to tap out. Congratulations to Carissa Hodge, gets that first win, and I hope Anna Taylor stays at it. She certainly showed some promise in her ability to wrestle out there. You could see she was in good shape. Needs to get some proper grappling training. I believe had she had a little bit more grappling knowledge, she probably could have fought out of that guillotine. But just we're not the ones out there first time out there, nerves under those lights. Sometimes you don't think clearly, and otherwise a pretty good showing. I had her winning the round, up until that point. But Carissa Hodge very opportunistic, snagged up that neck, didn't let go till she got the tap, and now she's got a check in that win column.
Yeah, yeah. Anna, like you said, was looking good in the beginning. She immediately dove in for those takedowns, grabbed those legs, and was persistent in getting her down. But like you said, I think a lot of that was just the inexperience and panicking, if you will, just being in that guillotine and for that long. Uh, I'm an expert at fighting from the outside of the cage.
Of course.
So I didn't understand why she would not just simply walk around and relieve some of that pressure on,
Mhm.
because I'm not the one in there getting choked. So that being said, that's just going to come with inexperience. I mean, honestly, the biggest win was that she was there. She was an independent fighter that reached out to us. Actually, she didn't even reach out at all. Somebody else reached out for her, so she was kind of an anomaly on, does she even really exist? Is she going to
Mhm.
show up? And she did. She was on. She was early
Yeah.
or on time, one of the two at everything, and conducted herself. Uh, you know, like you would hope anybody would or should. And she's just young. She was eager. She was eager to get in there and compete. And the skill will come later, and the technique will come later as she continues to train. And hopefully we see her again. She's got promise. She was not scared to engage in this fight at all. Sometimes fighters with that kind of resume or lack of resume, they come in and they're real timid and they
Mhm.
don't want to engage in the fight, and they want to back up and they want to run from everything. She came forward and she went after what she felt she was going to have the best chance with, and that was being in top control in wrestling, and she went after it. So she lost the fight, but she won the battle of getting in there. So hats off to her. And then Carissa Hodge, you can't be happier for her, because she's been in there in some tough outings. Her debut with us was against Samantha Buttery, who we're going to talk about a little bit in a title fight, and then she went out of state somewhere in what I feel was a fairly big show
Mhm.
in the area, and jumped right into a tough fight there, and never once indicated that she was down on herself or this wasn't the life for her. She's like, I'm gonna come back. Let's do it again. I'm gonna keep going until this gets right. And so, hats off to her for sticking with it, and you could tell she was so excited to get her first win.
We went all the way to the other end of the spectrum with super heavyweights next. Our first ever super heavyweight MMA fight. It didn't last very long.
Nope.
Sean Moore, but it felt like it lasted longer than it did. I'll say that. Watching these guys in there, it might have just been the panic that I had for our equipment and for our cage panels, that I was just like, this has got to end soon. But it took 20 seconds. It felt like longer than that. Sean Morgan, Hobbs Jackson Wayne gets the win by knockout first round over the Academy of Martial Arts representative Chase Chandler. Man, this is they were throwing them things, man. Chase Chandler landed some real big bombs early in the fight that had Sean Morgan reeling, and then Sean Morgan came back and landed big overhands that had Chase Chandler on skates. Ended up dropping him 20 seconds in, getting the win, moving to 1-0, representing that Hobbs Jackson Wink team. Hopefully we get to see Mr. Chase Chandler back again, and shout out to him and his buddies, the fine folks at our newest sponsor, Juicy's Bail Bonds. Thanks to Chase fighting on this card, we
Yeah.
were able to connect with those guys. And if you find yourself in jail, you can call 457 bail and Juicy get your ass out of there. Your thoughts on these super heavyweights, man? These big boys, they were both sweethearts too. Though they were
Yeah.
like the nicest dudes on the card to be the biggest, scariest dudes. 700 pounds in there between them.
Oh yeah, super nice. In fact, at the Fighter Hotel, I'm getting ready to walk out the door to go to the fight because I need to be there about the same time that the fighters are there. And I look out to yell for my son at the pool, and he's in the pool chilling with Sean Morgan. And I'm thinking, what is he doing in the pool? We gotta go. Like y'all got a meeting here a second, and he's out there with my kid in the pool chilling. So he was as sweet as could be to my kid out there, but he was damn sure relaxed because he was just chilling in the sun, sunbathing 30 minutes before rules meeting. But both these guys were super nice. But this is what I expected when we looked at the car with all these heavyweights. 20 seconds, fight's
Yeah.
over. That's what you expect, one way or the other. You don't care which way, but one way or the other, you know that this is how heavyweight fights and super heavyweight fights are supposed to end. There's no doubt we know with guys of this size, it's not about who can knock someone out because they both have that
Yeah.
strength and that weight to knock somebody out. It just comes down to who can take one. And as you said, Sean got tagged, but he was able to take one
Mhm.
better than his opponent was able to take one. So, it just came down to the fact that Chase, just wasn't able to, you know, handle that power the way that Sean was able to. So yeah, 2-0, 20 seconds. It was a quick one, but I love the oohs and the ahs when you announce the weight of
Mm.
super heavyweights. They thought when I said 342, I look, you kind of look around and look at the faces and you see the
Yeah.
oohs and the ahs because they think, holy shit, it don't get any bigger. And then I
It
call his
does.
opponent and it's 352. And then they lean back in their chair like, oh my God. So they knew it was coming.
Let's see. After that, we move on to our 11th bout of the night. Catchweight, 210 pounds. Jeff Jankowski, the separate representative of that Lawrenceburg Combat Club, comes out, gets the win. Round two, TKO, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. Only 10 seconds left to go in the second round as he gets the win over Marshall Murphy, making his debut as well out of Knoxville. Both these guys, very good to work with. This is one of those fights where we knew that from an experience standpoint and from a background standpoint, this was going to be a very closely matched fight between two guys that were not coming out of big established teams, didn't have a big background, and sometimes those can be the most fun fights, and this one certainly had the crowd on their feet as Jankowski gets that win with, like I said, only 10 seconds to go. And that first round, Marshall Murphy probably got that first round, and had his moments in the second round. But there was a moment, I guess the end came essentially. Jeff Jankowski had a triangle locked up from his back, but more than anything, he didn't really have the triangle locked up so much as he
Yeah.
just had him stuck. And Marshall couldn't get up. And it was the first time I've ever seen a fight stopped from strikes from a man on his back. And it for a TK, no, I take that back. So we saw Kevin Holland, I guess, do it to Jacare, but he like stopped it. He like knocked him out from his
Yeah.
back. I've not seen just like an accumulation from someone's back, like 50 unanswered blows
Yeah.
eventually stopped the fight.
It was,
Uh,
it was more so just a not being able to defend yourself.
yeah,
He didn't knock him out by any way, but it was
right,
definitely one of those you and I had to kind of turn and just look at each other like, did he submit? Did he? He's
right.
like, I asked the ref, and he's like, no. I was like, well, then what happened? He's like, just unanswered blows. He couldn't defend himself. He wasn't going to submit, but he couldn't fight back. So he's
Yeah,
like,
it makes you wonder
yeah,
if he could have made it another 10 seconds to the end.
yeah,
And maybe even in his mind, he was thinking, I got another 10, 15 seconds. Let's just ride this shit out. And I've won. It'll be 1-1 going to the third round. Great
yeah,
fight by both men. I'm not trying to toot the horn of all these independent guys, but like all these independent guys that we got between, Anna Taylor and Marshall Murphy and guys like that have like really just were a refreshing representation of an independent fighter as far as reliability, being on time, not giving me no shit. It was great. But this was Jeff Jankowski's night. And man, he sent the crowd from Lawrenceburg home happy. That place was rocking and rolling. They were up on us. They were respectful all the same. It was, sometimes when crowds get like that crazy, it can sometimes get a little bit and we maybe bordered on that a little bit, but there were no lines crossed. And ultimately, that Lawrenceburg team was the only team on the night to get out of there undefeated on the night
Yeah.
2-0, the only team to make a sweep when they were surrounded by much more, what would we would say, much more, recognized, credentialed teams on that evening. They're the only ones able to clean their plate.
Yeah, their only issue was more spatial and bubble issues. It wasn't anything that they were
Yeah,
saying or disrespectful or anything. But that hell, we're used to that. That come when it comes to the Joe, that usually comes with the
comes with the
territory.
territory. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a confined space anyway, and there's not a lot of room. And we love them close up to the action, so we definitely had worse, Tim.
Mhm.
They were just excited. But man, for Jankowski, you couldn't ask for a better debut because, like you were saying, arguably, if this went to the judges' scorecards, who knows what it would have looked like. So, to be in that kind of tough battle for your debut just only sets you up for success. You were still able to come out of that tough fight with a win. You learn in defeats, but you also learn in wins too, because you were in there with a tough opponent that you had to dig down deep in your debut and find a way to win and stay the course. So, I mean, that's only going to help him in his sophomore outing. That he was pushed like that in his first fight. Sometimes when you walk in your first fight, if it's a cakewalk, well, you've kind of lied to yourself then on, maybe I'm better than what I think I am, or maybe I'm further along than what should think that I am. And you kind of trick yourself in a little bit. But he was able to see exactly where he's at, in his skill set, and his cardio and such, and still walk away with a dub. That's a victory all around as far as I'm concerned.
And then, of course, Jankowski, after talking to him afterward, I think we all agreed 185 probably going to be a better fit for him moving forward. And
Yeah, and who did he call out? When I said, "When are we gonna see you in here next?" Did he say Cole
oh,
Tucker?
no. I think you
Yeah.
misunderstood that. He said he wanted to fight when Cole Tucker fought. Cole Tucker's he's the man at Lawrence. That is the Lawrenceburg Combat
COAL
Club.
Tucker, yeah.
Yeah, Cole. Yeah, Cole. He has come in here and fought two tough fights for us. Fought Jacob Adams. Very tough dude. He's over there with those boys.
Okay,
That's
okay.
like their man. So look for those guys to all kind of make an outing of it. They're telling me in September they're wanting like 5 guys from Lawrenceburg on the card, and man, if they bring the crowd like they did last night, then they can have as
I
many
got you. I
people
thought he
that they
was
want on
already
there.
calling somebody out, but he was just saying
No,
he
he
wants to
just
be
wants
on
to
the
fight
same
with his
card as
buddy.
somebody.
Yeah, he
Okay.
wants to be on the same card with his buddy.
I got you. Okay.
Let's see. Let's move on to our feature bout, and that is going to be our final heavyweight bout of the night. As it was Jonathan Coffey of Mushindo Martial Arts, improving his record to 3-1 over Agogi's John Hampton. Round 2, TKO, minute 45 in, and yeah, Coffey's character, man. He's got some mojo about him. He's a bit of a showman. I'm a fan of this guy. Really nice striking, good takedown defense. And we talked to John Hampton ahead of this one, and he said he's going to be a little more measured this time in his approach. And man, I think in this, hindsight's always 2020. Maybe that bull in the china shop approach that we've seen him be successful with in the past may have been the better approach given the conditions of this fight. But again, hey, hindsight's 2020. You never know how it's going to go. Props to Jonathan Coffey who gets that win, moves to 3-1. We're going to put him in there for a belt, Jeff. I don't know against who just yet, but he's going to get a crack at somebody. There's a cowboy that runs around at the Joe that might be a fun one.
He just might. And again, we said it earlier. He was taking names.
Yep.
He was taking names all night. And, man, listen, Jonathan Coffey was probably the happiest guy in the house all night. Out of all the winners, he was enjoying himself more than anybody. I didn't think we were going to be able to get him to stop dancing long enough, for a post fight interview. because he was definitely feeling the moment and feeling himself. But man, that was tough. John Hampton is a tough dude, man, and we've seen him bulldoze, people in the past leading up to this bout, and wasn't sure. Honestly, personally, I just wasn't sure that Jonathan Coffey was going to be able to. Handle the type of pressure that I thought, John Hampton was going to bring to this fight and bring to him. But a lot of it to me was even when Hampton had, like a cage control or control up against the fence, Coffee was there was no lull in action. If he was smashed up against, he was hitting the hammer fist on the
Hmm.
side. He was constantly touching something. He wasn't just going to stand there and wait and see where we go next, or how long are we going to be up against the fence, or how long is he going to have his arm. He was like, well, while I'm waiting, I'm going to hit you here, and I'm going to hit you here, and I'm going to punch here. He was staying active and busy, and I think that the accumulation of those type of little hammer fist and shots, started to help turn the curve, turn the corner there. And so, again, I mean, what do you say? Hats off to this kid for just being determined and having that, never say die attitude. And, listen, you could tell Jonathan Coffey was a bigger guy even than this, and has lost a lot of weight. But,
Hmm.
John Hampton was stature wise much larger, just a lot thicker and solid. And this kid wasn't I don't want to say scared, but he wasn't
Hmm.
intimidated by any of that. He was confident, and the same smile he had on his face during the interview was the same smile he had during the fight, walking to the cage and after the fight. He's a happy kid.
Congratulations to Mr. Coffee as he earns himself a spot for our first heavyweight strap. We'll keep you posted on who we come up with for him. Co-main event time up next as Jacob Adams out of Chaos moves to 3-0, undefeated here, and all of these fights coming this year. He just debuted in January as he returns from injury, actually a little bit of a layoff, to get a very hard fought win over a very tough, very durable and athletic and skilled Xavier Horton out of Team Ground and Pound. Second round TKO, minute 17 seconds in. Pretty good. This one Mark Laws had pretty good amount of work to do after this one. There was pretty good cut there on Xavier Horton, and Jacob Adams withstood some tough moments to come out undefeated and claim his slot in that middleweight title fight opposite Corey Farmer.
Yeah. Um, I was still, even watching, I was trying to figure out where that cut came from.
Mm,
It was an amateur fight, so we know it wasn't an
yeah,
elbow.
should have been elbow.
Possibly a clash of heads. But I asked Jacob after the fight, and he thought maybe possibly that it was the cage that
Ah.
did it. Because I think he was saying it happened right after maybe a takedown or something. He was trying to explain to me, but he thought that maybe it had hit, just the cage panel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and caused it, but he wasn't 100% sure. But it was definitely an odd cut because it was vertical too. It was like
Yeah,
just a straight line,
just like a
straight down.
split. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So adversity, right from the rip, having to deal with that blood. But like you said, kudos to Mark Laws being able to keep that cut at bay
We can
and
win
keep
into another round. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and keep the fight going, and was able to stop it long enough to get us into another round. Xavier Horton, just like we knew that wrestling was going to be key for him, and it didn't disappoint by any means. He was controlling the fight as far as from a posturing standpoint, but Jacob Adams, I don't want to say he's a sleeper, but like I just don't think I don't know how to explain it, Tim.
He's still
Not
probably people
not that
still don't realize how good he is.
yeah, not that I feel that way necessarily, but it's like I feel that I know how other people feel,
Mm.
and I don't think they realize how good he is yet, or they just don't. Yeah, they don't realize how good he is. He is sneaky, way better than what I think people give him credit for,
Mm.
And I don't know. It's weird to explain. And I don't feel that he's being disrespected in his skill set. I think they just think, okay, well, if he's from Knoxville and he was that good, I'd know who he is. Or, well, he's at a school that square footage wise is smaller than other schools in the area. And he doesn't brag and boast on social media. He's not a me type person. I just don't think they understand that the potential and that this kid's got. I thought this was a straight up pick 'em. I thought it could go either way, and I saw paths to victory for both guys, but I definitely saw paths to victory for Xavier Horton, and and you know, and even looking at Xavier Horton, you look at him, he's a specimen, and you look at um, you know. Uh, my my fiance was with me, and she was like, "It is so amazing," because she's just now kind of watching, some of this stuff, and she's like, "You have two guys that step on the scale, and they weigh the exact same, and then you look at how their body is made up, and they couldn't be any different." And she's like, "You have one, it looks like." He was carved out of granite. And so, I mean, this Horton is no slouch. And when I talked to
Mm-mm.
Jacob afterwards, he said this victory felt so good because of the level of opponent that he had in the cage. He said, coming in and winning quick, easy fights, you're excited about the win and getting the W on your record and upping your resume. He said, but man, this feels so good when I know how good my opponent was and how much I had to earn, that win. So this fight fucking delivered, man, on both sides. Both these competitors did, both combatants did, the crowd did, and I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see an Adams versus Farmer fight, because if either of those guys remotely travel to Nashville, what shows up in Knoxville when they fight?
And we
And
know
when
the fight's going to be
Oh
fire.
yeah, but
Yeah.
if you also bring white chocolate into it
Hmm.
and the Adams crew, um, man, it could get rowdy up in that son bitch in Music City in August. It's going to be a hell of a fight, man. But I really do. It goes without saying. I can't wait to see Jacob Adams in this title fight, and we're going to see a lot of Jacob Adams. But I really, really do hope that Xavier Horton comes back
Yeah.
and competes, for our promotion again.
Yeah, I love to have Xavier back. Class act, very easy, professional style fighter to work
Yeah.
with. He'll be dropping down to 170 next too, so he'll be giving guys problems there. And I got a hot take for you. Jacob Adams is the best amateur in Knoxville.
Are you want me to
Don't
argue with you?
don't. Yeah, yeah. I was
you,
Jacob Adams beat
yeah,
any amateur in any gym, any other gym in Knoxville, any of them. I don't care.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you're looking
there's
for me to argue with you, I
yeah.
can't. I got no debate. I got no debate for you, man.
So
And if you don't agree, call us.
right, yeah.
We'll let you find out. We'll let you find out.
Main event. This is what they came for. 5 rounds for the first ever Aries female championship that we've ever done. This one being at featherweight, as we have the undefeated Samantha Buttery, the blue-eyed devil Buttery, taking on Mary Rosenbeck, out of Tom Galicchio's Militia MMA, also still training there with Jeff Powell. Samantha out of Pedigo Submissions in Kentucky. Man, this is a war. This is we got all 5 rounds out of this thing. I wasn't surprised how this fight went. Like, I honestly like that this fight was, if anything, I was a little impressed by both ladies in ways I didn't know I'd be impressed. I could say that may
Mhm.
be one thing that surprised me. As far as this being a grueling back and forth 5 rounds that had ebbs and flows for both, that did not surprise me. I thought the early rounds went to Samantha Buttery. I thought when she was able to get Mary on the ground, her ground and pound was vicious. She had stronger ground and pound than what I anticipated out of her. Um, but then she kind of abandoned that game plan too early, I thought, and that allowed Mary to get back in the fight by about round 3 by my tally, and that's where the tide started to shift. And there was a pretty good little hematoma that came up on the side of Samantha's eye. Another shout out to Mark Laws on this one. He was able to make that where it became a non-issue as far as the fight goes, but it started coming up early and could have become an issue otherwise. But Mary Rosenbeck that just got stronger as the fight went on. Every round that just progressed, she'd come out with a shit-eating grin on her face, like, "Are you ready to go again?" And the judges saw it for her a split decision. One judge had it 3-2 Samantha. The other two judges had it 4-1 for Mary. I'm okay with both of those. Would have been okay with about anything they told me, to tell you the truth. I personally had it 2-2 going to the fifth round. Certainly could see Mary getting that fifth round. So your take on this title fight? I think both ladies are better for this. I talked to Samantha at length afterward. I said, this is good for you. Ultimately, it's still an amateur fight. You needed to be pushed like that. You went from finishing 3 opponents in the first round to going all 5 rounds. And at the end of the day, I'm sure you'd rather have the win, but that was good for you and your growth of a fighter. And of course, it's great for Mary as well. The confidence that gives Mary Rosenbeck, I'm sure, is invaluable. That's, to me, has always just been one of the missing things. Is like, she just needs to get that. You just needs to have that confidence, that killer instinct. She's about to go in here and smash a bitch, and she's starting to kind of get that. It seems like, obviously, the training there at Militia MMA, a proud Tom Galicchio, a proud Jeff Powell in the corner.
Yeah, definitely. Jeff Powell was rightfully so very proud because the majority of this bout
Striking.
was striking and stayed at arm's length, and um, you know, um, uh, kind of like what you said. It's not that we saw paths to victory for both, and the way that Mary won it was exactly the path of victory for her that we had seen or had thought. We knew and we discussed, so many times that, what could be the difference. I don't want to say we knew it was going to be, well, it could be the difference was going to be just that Terminator mindset that, you're going to have to damn near kill her to get her out of there. And, that, never say die attitude and that coming forward. And we knew that that was going to be it. But, both girls surprised you in different areas. And what surprised me, made me proud too, though, was that Samantha showed she has got dog in her.
Mm-hmm.
Those first 2 rounds, they were good. They were close. I agree that I felt Samantha had those 2 rounds, but it was almost about when that 15 seconds left to the 10-second clicker, like she was an animal. I don't know. I can't remember if it was the first or the second round, but I mean, she hammer fisting away from the top position. I mean, she had dog in her, and that was so awesome to watch. Like, no, I'm not just a pretty face, and I can be in these type of fights too.
Mm-hmm.
And she let it all hang out. But Mary just stayed the course, and like you said, you're just looking like, what the hell are you smiling about? The harder the exchange is happening, and the harder Samantha was hitting her. I mean, just grinning from ear to ear, like it was her way of just looking at Samantha and saying, "Are we having fun yet?
Yeah.
Are you having fun? Because I sure as hell am." But like you said, after that second round, things started slowing down for Samantha. I know Samantha wanted to show off her striking. I know she did, and she did a hell of a job doing it. It kind of makes me second guess, though. Should she maybe have went back to her bread and butter a little more and not worried about being able to go tit for tat and strike with her and showing off her striking to say, hey, let me go back to what I know and what I'm really good at. Let me make this just a dirty, grindy, grappling and wrestling match. And let me put some of this strength on her and try to wind her down. That's hindsight. She's probably guessing herself way more than I should be. But it started to slow down. There were times in the fight that I'm watching both of them, and Mary is shooting laser beams through Samantha. And there were some times, I don't know what it was, but I would see Samantha look off in the distance, or look off at the crowd, or look
Mhm.
over here.
I've noticed that a couple
Yeah,
times too.
yeah. There was times where I would see her eyes look around, and it made me just think like, what's going through her mind right now? Why is
Mm.
she doing that? Um, is it? I don't know. I'm just glad you noticed it too, because
I
I
did.
couldn't figure out why, or what it meant, or it may hell it may not have meant anything, but it was just something that stood out to me. Was, Mary is staring right into her chest and watching every move, and Samantha's kind of looking around at things, and so I don't know if maybe just those later rounds, those championship rounds, as she started to kind of fatigue a little bit, and realize that she was in a dogfight. If
Focus started to become a
maybe
little
she just
tougher to keep her.
got in her own head a little bit, because, like you said, she'd never been out of the first round. You know, she's been able to bulldog and bully her opponents, and have her way and her will. So maybe it was just more of a mind wandering type deal. Um, but I mean, you just couldn't be happier. For Mary, she had been on the shelf for a while.
Mhm.
Um, and we hadn't seen her, and she jumps right back in there. I know you were excited the day you texted me or called me. I can't remember which one it was, and just said, Mary wants to come back. Mary's ready to come back. And you were like, I think it was a Chattanooga show, and you're like,
Mm.
we need to leave a ticket for Mary Rosenbeck because she's wanting to come back. I want her to come. I'm excited to have her back, and man, I'm glad she reached out to you, because she was involved in. You couldn't be prouder of that female main event. Our producer at E2A, who was in another state, watching and running it on his TV while our local producer was running it. It was the first fight. When he called me the next day, he was like, while I was doing another show, I was watching your main event, on another monitor. He's like, holy shit, those girls threw down. So, and it was such a fight to be proud of for us. It's not the female fights; they're fun, but don't get it twisted, guys. We don't look at them as a gimmick by any means at all, and that's what makes me even more proud that fight delivered, because they deserve all the praise in the world for the show that they put on. And Militia MMA right now. They've started
5-0.
competing. They started competing in 2022, and right now they've sent 5 fighters into competition, and all 5 have come out with victories. And that is not just in their own hometown. That is out of town, hometown. Males, females, different weight classes. They're 5-0 right now. So nice little 2022 for Militia. Again, you could see the Militia and Tom Galicchio thumbprint on Mary's improvements, but that Jeff Powell base, was there, and Mary was making. She wanted to make sure Jeff Powell got his props, and
Mm.
and and rightfully so, because she knows that everything that Tom is doing with her is built around what Jeff has instilled, in her in the past, and she's married the two very well.
Yeah, congratulations to both these ladies. I think nobody comes out a loser when you send the crowd home that happy. Everybody very complimentary of this fight afterwards. So thank you to both ladies. Congratulations, Mary. Proud to have you representing us as our first ever female champion. We'll have to find a tough one for you next time. Not that this one wasn't tough, but they're all going to kind of keep getting tougher. And I know she's ready for the challenge. Appreciate y'all sitting in with us on this recap as we get ready to roll towards Aries Amped. If you can catch these videos for these fights that we've been talking about here on the YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe and you can see just what a war we're talking about in this 5-round title fight for yourself. We'll be trucking towards Aries Amped, Jeff. That's going to be August the 13th. We've got lots more fights to announce. And as we get closer and closer to that, we're going to be doing a lot more detailed breakdowns and interviews than we typically do for our usual shows, as we've got about a 5-week break as we lead to that. So we want to get you as much information on these guys, give these guys as much spotlight as we can as we get ready to roll into that big show, August the 13th. Jeff, any parting words before we get out of here?
Man, just be ready. Like I said, amped is we called it amped for a reason. We are amping up the ante on all aspects, staging, the fights, the competition, the records of these, guys competing, um, people in the crowd. We're upping it in every fashion. I'll tell you right now, if you're watching this and you either think you're going to have somebody announced on this card, or you think you just want to come to this card, I think there's like 2 tables left, and that's it. And I probably got 6 people who want me to hold those 2 tables, but they're out there. So
Yeah. We've
if you're
only
gonna,
announced half the card.
yes, if you're gonna get them, you better get them, because they've taken them. But general admission's there. Um, Tim, Kama Worthy, one half of our main event. He said he's available this week to talk, so we'll start
Awesome.
recording these things uh, quick, fast, and in a hurry. You heard from Trevor Peak a little bit if you were in the crowd the other night.
He's excited.
At Aries, he's ready to rock and roll. I visited his gym, and he was in there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon throwing, by himself, just one-on-one with the coaches. He's ready. Robbie Ring, Jacob Kilburn, locals, Ava Mai, Zach Hicks. We've already announced those. We can talk about the ones we've announced, Tim. Our
Justin Jamar
lightweight,
Carrington Johnson.
yes, our lightweight amateur title on the line. Justin Jamar, our the sniper. He's going to be against Carrington Johnson in a title fight.
185 title with Corey Farmer and Jacob Adams. We talked
Farmer
about that a little
Jacob
bit earlier.
Adams title fight. We're working on Zane Burton's closing that deal. He's going to be defending his title. We announced Aaron Terrell this morning.
Josh Booker, that's a hell of a fight.
a
When
goat.
that's like one of your curtain jerkers, then you know
Yeah.
that you're stacked, because that's a badass fight.
Opening bout is a 3-1 versus a 2-0. Booker and Terrell. Then it tells you what kind of night you're in for. Right off the rip. So, man, there's just so much going on. We got people. The Titans are away on Thursday night before weigh-ins, but I've got people saying, hey, I'm coming on Thursday because I just want to go to a Nashville bar and watch the Titans game with Nashville people and Nashville residents. People are coming early. They're making weekends out of it. Man, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Stay tuned. Lots more information coming up on that amped card. If you want your tickets, though, I'd get them now at fightertix.com. Expectation Sports will have the pay-per-view broadcast and some little treats for that as well. Cody Safety coming into town to call the action. It's going to be just all the way up for this one, guys. So make sure you're subscribed here so you get all the notifications. Thanks for sitting in to my man Jeff Hobbs. We will catch you guys on the flip side on the next 0 hour. Take care, guys. See you next time.
See you.